So welcome back guys. We have mixed kick and snare drum up till now. We will be mixing cymbals and hi-hats and toms a little bit later. But before going on to that part, we will first listen to the song. Okay, that's enough. Let's mix hi-hat first. Let me bring it down by mixing and rendering. Also, I need to fix the volume, and before doing anything, let's listen to the hi-hat. Yes, that's fine enough. Now I will make a copy of this track. Add new track. This will work as our reference track. The first thing that I will do is apply demagogue, and I will be using my own samples this time. So here is the demagogue, and my sample name is hi-hat dip. I will decrease the triggering to about -30 approx. Okay, let's listen. It's taking its time. The attribute has to be closed. What you heard was demagogue sample. I will be using this sample to blend with the Rhythm Rascal sample. Little bit more. How about I add some more? No, 35% is enough. Yes, that sounds fine enough. Let's shift it back. You might be wondering why I used demagogue directly and not adding it on another track like I did earlier. You can use that way also, but I use it directly because I think that hi-hats have a fairly good transition. Let's listen to the blended track. And now this track. Can you hear what demagogue has done to the sound? It has added more dynamics and it sounds so much natural. Let's see how it sounds in the mix. And now the old hi-hats. It really doesn't sound that nice. Now let's move on further. The first thing that I will do is apply a high pass filter at 200 Hz. This will help me to make the mix more clear, as hi-hat doesn't usually have a low end, and it will make the low end less competitive. Let's listen to the hi-hat only. Again, not much of a difference, and old. Sounds like crap. Now I will apply some equalization. Now I will apply a boost at 1 kHz by 1 dB and also at 1.6 kHz so as to give it more of a hard hitting sound. Let's listen with the rest of the song. The next thing that I will apply is a boost at 12.5 kHz and at 10 kHz so as to give it more of a crispness. Okay, now let's listen to the processed sound. And without the EQ. A very subtle effect, but only this minor changes leads to a better sound. Now the next thing that I will use is an exciter that will help me excite the higher frequencies so that I can get a very crisp sound. I will apply the plugin on this track. And I will use a preset of high sizzle and I will use the oversampling. And just like Drumogog, the Rhythm Rascal also adds a delay to the isotope plugins, so I will have to shift it back to the correct time. Let's listen to the earlier track. And now sizzle track. Can you make out the differences? And now let's listen to the original track. I will not use any compressor on the hi-hats because that will just reduce the dynamics, and we worked really hard for adding dynamics, so why remove it now? And now let's listen with all tracks. And with the old hi-hats. Can you hear the differences? The new hi-hat sounds a lot more open and has that crispness and more dynamics, and it sounds so much real, as if it's a real drummer is playing in front of you as compared to the old one. And let me bring the hi-hats open track down. The last time I heard hi-hats they were loud, so let's adjust the volume for them. volume sounds fine enough to my ears, and I will copy this track for reference. And now I will apply demagogue. Again we will blend the samples, but this time it should be open. Okay, so less should be enough. This balance should be enough. And now I will apply to the entire track. Now let's bring it back to the correct timing. Okay, I need to remove the noise introduced by demagogue in the beginning. Let's listen. And this one is the unprocessed sound. Can you hear the changes introduced by demagogue in the high end? And this one. In addition to the dynamics, the hi-hats are bright now. Can you hear the differences? And now I will apply the high pass filter at 200 Hz, just like I did with the closed hi-hats. And here is the EQ. I will apply the same equalization as I did with the closed hi-hats, but I will reduce at 2.5 and 3 kHz so as to make it less standing out in the mix. And now I will copy the track and I will apply an exciter over this new track. And I will use the same preset again. Okay, now let's listen to the hi-hats. and this is how the old one sounds. I hope you can hear the differences. Now let me rename this track as hi-hat. Okay, let's listen to the song. This should be fine enough for now. And now let's move on to the toms. Now I will import a MIDI track which I will be using as a timing reference track. Just like all other drum parts, I will use a drum-a-gog on high toms as well. It can be more. I guess 50% should be enough. Sounds nice. Now I will bring the mid tom down as well as the low tom. And again drum-a-gog with 50% blend. And this also. %50. Now I will see that they are properly aligned with the MIDI track. Let's listen to the tom only, so let me solo them. So how does it sound? And now I will apply a high pass filter so as to avoid mudding in the low end. And now it's time for the EQ. Whenever you're applying an EQ, always remember that less is more. Sometimes you may want to record the entire thing again instead of wasting your time. I will apply a boost at 250 Hz by 3 dB so as to make high toms more distinctive as compared to low and mid toms. Also, I will be boosting at 2 kHz so as to give it more of a bite or to make it more stand out in the mix. And now on to the low toms. I will use a different EQ this time. I will boost at 150 Hz by 3 dB and at 500 Hz by approximately 1 dB. This makes the low tom more fatter as compared to other toms and makes it have a different sound. And now it's time for the mid. I will boost at 200 Hz by 3 dB approx and at 1 kHz. And again the motive is the same, and that is to make it more different sounding as compared to low and high toms. The toms sound fine enough. Now let's move on to the cymbals. I will bring them down. Unlike other drum parts, I will not apply a demagogue onto the cymbals because they sound fine enough, and also they don't have a very sharp transition, so they won't trigger that well. And besides, I don't have any good sounding GOG files. The first thing that I will apply on the cymbals is an exciter. I will use a preset of Add Sparkle. The exciter will excite the high frequencies based upon the sound you recorded or started with, and this will make my cymbals more brighter. And I will apply the same thing here as well. And now we will apply the high pass filter. But before moving on to that part, let me show you the waveform. As you can see, you cannot make out where are the transitions, so Drumagog cannot trigger well. You can apply a high boost at 1 kHz to make the transition more sharper so that the Drumagog can trigger effectively. Now I will apply a high pass filter at 200 Hz. And again I have to shift it back to the correct timing. The shift has occurred because of the Isotope plugin, because Isotope is not meant for Audacity. But if you're using Cubase or Pro Tools or any other software, you don't have to shift it. Let's listen. Okay, that sounds fine enough for now. And now I will apply an equalization. I will apply a cut at 2.5 and 3 kHz so as to give more room for the vocals and the guitars. And I will decrease at 10 and 12. And I will increase at 10 and 12 to make the cymbals more brighter, more cutting in the mix at the higher frequencies. And remember one thing whenever you're applying EQ, that less is more, and don't fix if it ain't broken. And now let's listen to the entire track. I guess that's enough for now. I will apply the reverb and other special effect later when I have guitars and vocals and everything. And thanks for watching. Have a nice day.